They are the insiders, Pierre LeBrun, Chris Johnston, and Darren Dreger. Gentlemen, watching Jake Muzzin lying on the ice in the game against the Habs, really disturbing, especially given his recent battle with concussions. Depending on how long he's going to be out, what are the options the Leafs are looking at, Dregs?
Well, adding a defenseman and perhaps a forward as well, Gino. But you're right. I mean, if Jake Muzzin is out long term and the Toronto Maple Leafs are able to place him on LTIR, that frees up over $5.6 million in cap space. Now, Muzzin is back in Toronto. He's said to be feeling okay, but anything hit related, you're going to need a bit more time to fully assess. So when you look at defensemen that the Toronto Maple Leafs are targeting, you're looking at Hampus Lindholm in Anaheim. You're looking at John Klingberg with the Dallas Stars. We've talked about Ben Sherratt. And what about Mark Giordano from the Seattle Kraken? Again, those are all just pie-in-the-sky sort of options at this point. And then you look at adding a forward up front. Toronto would like to add a top six winger, something to complement that second line. But they're going to take their time with Jake Muzzin first to decide whether or not he has to be placed on LTIR and then look closely at the trade market.
And, Dregs, with all due respect to the other defenseman that you mentioned after Hampus Lindholm, when you talk to other teams around the league, they view Hampus Lindholm as the #1 rental D on the market, if he is indeed on the market. Now, he's a pending UFA. And one of the first things that Pat Verbeek, the new GM in Anaheim, has done, according to our sources, is reach out to Lindholm's camp led by agent Claude Lemieux and start the process of seeing if there's enough common ground to sign an extension before the trade deadline to remove Hampus Lindholm from the trade market. And that would be a heartbreaker for a lot of teams that would love to throw some assets at Anaheim for a guy who plays 23 minutes a night on the top pairing. We'll see if that deal gets done or not.
Guys, if all goes according to plan, Zdeno Chara will set the NHL record for most games played by a defenseman this Thursday. But Pierre, that's not the only reason people are keeping an eye on Big Z right now?
No, and that is quite an accomplishment, by the way. But teams have started to call Lou Lamoriello and the Islanders, who are fading out of the playoff race. They're never really in the race all year, one of the league's true disappointments. And they're saying to Lou Lamoriello, hey, keep us in mind if you decide to do something with Zdeno Chara. Now, this is an interesting situation. Chara does not have a no-trade clause, but he's a future Hall of Famer, and the sense around the league is that Lou Lamoriello is going to go to Chara at some point and see if, in fact, he actually wants to move. And if he does, then there is interest already in Zdeno Chara, despite his age, 44. The fact he's slowed down a bit, but he's still a major leader and a very physical presence that could help a contender on that third pairing for sure.
Brad Marchand has served his 6-game suspension. That part of it's done, but this matter may still be open, Chris?
It might still be in the courts, Gino. We'll see what Brad Marchand decides. But as of today, he hasn't decided whether or not he wants to move forward and have an appeal heard by a neutral arbitrator. Gary Bettman's already upheld the 6-game suspension for this brush with Tristan Jarry a few weeks ago. Brad Marchand has sat out those games, as you said, but he feels that he was targeted here, that there's a kind of a principled aspect to why he might move forward. Also, if any games were reduced, it would be worth $75,000 per game back in his pocket. He's got until Friday to make a decision.
We've spoken about making deals at the NHL level, the minor league level, and Dregs, some teams like the Canucks expanding their search into the European free agent market as well? Yeah,
the Vancouver Canucks, Gino, really don't have much of a choice. They don't have a whole lot coming from within their feeder systems, organizationally speaking. So Patrick Allvin, Swedish board general manager for the Vancouver Canucks, has vowed that he will continue to scour the European market and the college free agent market as well. Allvin is looking closely at Russian forward Andrei Kuzmenko, 26-year-old, is at the top of the charts when you look at the pending unrestricted free agent Russians and Europeans for that matter. So I will say this, we're going to continue talking about Kuzmenko. The Vancouver Canucks would definitely like to be in the mix, but there's probably about 30 other teams that want to crack at this guy as well.
You'll keep a very close eye on that, I'm sure. They are the insiders, Pierre LeBrun, Chris Johnston, and Darren Dreger.